Good evening friends, my name is Chiranjeevi Patil. I am from Mechanical Department, CBIT Belagavi. So today we are going to start with the module 3 of Operation Research subject, that is called as transportation problems. So many of you have the concept of saying transportation problem, saying that the problems which are dealing with the transportation to transport one equipment from one place to the other is called as transportation problems, right? So as you can see, the book definition says transportation model deals with the transportation of a product available at several sources to a number of different destinations. So that is a basic understanding how we are going to understand a transportation problem. For example, if a company manufactures a part and if it wants to sell it to its source company, so it wants to go with separate problems, that is called as transportation problems. So today we are going to start with this kind of problems where we are going to understand what are the problems faced by many industries to transport its product or part from one place to another place, and how can we as an engineer can solve these problems in a different manners. So let us see. So there are few terms which we need to understand before starting with the transportation problems. So the first thing what we are going to see is nothing but the feasible solution. So in feasible solution, as definition says, a feasible solution to a transportation problem is a set of non-negative allocation. So when you are going to solve any problems related to transportation, so you are going to obtain some solutions, and those solutions may or may not be exactly required by what you want to reduce your cost or increase the profit. So second definition goes saying basic feasible solution. So it is a feasible solution which contains not more than or no more than m plus n minus 1 non-negative allocation. So what is this m plus n minus 1? M represents number of rows and n represents the number of columns, so which we are going to deal with in the problems. So don't worry about it. Just remember, m is the number of rows and n is a number of columns which are going to allocate. The third point what we are going to deal is the optimum solution. Now what is this optimum solution is, as soon as we find the basic feasible solution, so whatever the solution we have obtained, we don't know whether that is the best solution we obtained or no. So we have to check it by another methods. Various methods are there, so that is nothing but optimal solution. So a feasible solution that minimizes cost or maximizes profit of a transportation model is called as optimal solution. Okay, the fourth point is nothing but non-degenerate basic feasible solution, and is saying a basic feasible solution to a m plus m into n transportation problem is said to be non-degenerate if the total number of non-negative allocation is exactly m plus n minus 1, and these m plus n minus 1 allocations are in independent position. So I'll explain these points when we start with the problem. So just keep in mind that whatever the problems you are going to deal with should be always a non-degenerate problem. Okay. Next, what is degenerate basic feasible solution? A basic feasible solution in which the total number of non-negative allocations is less than m plus n minus 1 is called as degenerate basic feasible solution. So if it is having exactly m plus n minus 1, for example, if suppose number of rows are 6 and number of rows are 6 and number of columns are 2, so total are how much? M plus n will be 6 plus 2 8, so 8 minus 1 will be 7. So if the allocations or the solutions what we have found are exactly 7, then that problem is called as basic feasible solution. And if it is less than 7, for example 6 plus 2 8, 8 minus 1 is 7, but suppose if the solutions what we are obtaining is 6 or 5 or 4, then it comes to degenerate basic feasible solution. So of course we are going to start with the first non-degenerate basic feasible solution, then we will come to the degenerate basic feasible solution. Okay, so let us start with the first basic problem. So I am going to take a problem, and by using this one simple problem you are going to understand each and every concept of the transportation problem. Okay, so it is a huge problem, but please try to understand step by step procedure. So what is saying, see, a dairy farm has 3 plants located throughout a state. Daily milk production at each plant as follows. So plant 1 has 6 million liters daily production, plant 2 has 1 million liters, plant 3 has 10 million liters. Each day the firm must fulfill the needs of its 4 distribution centers. And let us see what are the requirements of those distribution centers. So distribution center needs 7 million liters, distribution center 2 requires 5 million liters, distribution center 3 requires 3 million liters, distribution center 4 requires 2 million liters. So these are the requirements and these are the supply. So this much supply it is provided by the plant, and these are the requirements by the distribution center. Okay, so let us see in which way we can actually obtain or we can actually get to this whatever the supply and demand requirement is there. So what they are saying, let us see. Cost of shipping 1 million liters of milk from each plant to each distribution center is given in the following table in hundreds of rupees. So please keep in mind this word is very important, hundreds of rupees. Okay, so let us see here in this question they are saying, so plant 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 distribution centers are given. So to transport 1 million liters from plant 1 to plant 1, from plant 1 to distribution center 1 is 200 rupees they are saying. And if you want to transport 1 million liters of milk from plant 1 to distribution center 2, then you require 300 rupees. So simultaneously same all costs are given in the table, 1100 rupees, 700 rupees. So from plant 2 to distribution 2, 0 rupees is required. From plant 2 to distribution center 3, how many? 600 rupees is required. And in the similar way they have given the cost of each transportation. Now what they are saying is the dairy farm wishes to determine as to how much should be the shipment from which milk plant to which distribution center so that the total cost of the shipment is minimum. So please see this one. So this is an important term to be understood, minimum. So we are going to reduce the cost. As at the beginning of the OR class I have said that the OR subject basically deals with increasing the profit or decreasing the cost. So here they have said that it is nothing but you have to reduce the total cost of the shipment and in which best way you can supply all the demands required by the distribution centers. So what they are saying, determine the optimal transportation policy. So which is the best solution you can obtain. So in which way you can go so that you can transportation cost will be reduced. Okay, so let us start with the solution. So while taking the solutions, you can see the first step. So I have explained here each step by step. So you can say first make a transportation model. So here you can see that the questions what they had given earlier here. So in the question they are given in terms of a wording statement. So you have to convert this wording statement into a cubical matrix. Okay, so here I have converted this. You can see here. So what they are saying. So I have made a table here. So plant 1, 2, 3 is there and distribution center 1, 2, 3, 4 is there. So the cost is whatever is there they have given here, which is the same table as what they have given in the previous question, right? And here at the side I have given the supply requirement and how much is the demand here, right? So supply is how much? So for plant 1 is supplying 6, that is from the question they have given 6 million liters plant 1 is supplying. The same thing I have written it here. You can check that one, 6 million liters, right? Next plant 2 is supplying how much? 1 million liters daily. So that is I have written here. The same way plant 3 is dealing with 10 million liters daily. So 10 million liters I have written here. Now what are the requirements of the distribution centers? So let us check that one. So distribution center requires 7 million liters. So distribution center 1 has 7 million liters. Distribution center 2 has 5 million liters. Distribution center 3 has 3 million liters. And 4 has 2 million liters requirement daily. Okay. So what is the first thing you need to check? Check that supply and total demand. Total supply and total demand are equal. Right. So when you check it, you can see that 6 plus 1 plus 10 is equal to 17. And 7 plus 5 plus 3 plus 2 is equal to 17. So total is 17. So it should match. So this kind of problems are actually needed to solve the transportation problem. If it is not matching, then what we should do, that I will explain in the next problem. But remember, always they should match. Supply should be equal to demand. Then only we can solve the transportation problems. Okay. So total supply is equal to total demand. Then if this condition is satisfied, then we are going to go for the second step, that is called as find the basic feasible solution. So to find the basic feasible solution, I given already the basic feasible solution definition during the introduction of this transportation problem in the previous section. So now you can see here, to find the basic feasible solution, there are various methods. So if you find a very good textbook called as Gupta textbook, Prem Kumar Gupta textbook, so they have given various solutions to find the basic feasible solution that is gone by northwest corner rule method. Then we have column rule, row minima, then we have Vogel's approximation method. Many kinds are there, but according to the VTU syllabus what we are going to deal with, so we are going to deal with only two methods, that is northwest corner rule and the second one will be the Vogel's approximation method. Okay, so I'm going to deal with both the methods and explain you which one will be the best solution to obtain the basic feasible solution. Okay, so let us start with the northwest corner rule. So we can call it as northwest corner rule or even northwest corner method in WCDM. It is called as. So what are the basic rules to solve this problem? Okay, so here I have written some 3 conditions, so please state it here. This rule may be stated as follows. First one, start with NW for the top left corner block of the table. Okay, so you have to start from the top left corner block. So the block which are formed here, so top left is always 1, 1, that is first row, first column. Okay, so this will be the starting cell which we need to make an iteration. So now what they are saying, so we are going to start with that block. And what is the second statement say? If D1 is less than S1. So what is D1? D1 is nothing but demand 1 and S1 is the supply 1. So if D1 is less than say S1, set X11, X is nothing but the first cell, that is first row, first column cell, equal to demand 1. Okay, so here see, whichever one is smaller, that we have to set that value to that that cell and then go for the next step. Find the balance supply and demand, proceed to cell 1, 2. Okay, so I'll explain this step. What they are saying is, now here in this one they are saying, as you start from the top left corner, so check its supply and check its demand. Now supply, this is nothing but my S1 and this is nothing but my D1, right? So what the condition is stating that if D1 is less than S1, so is it D1 is less than S1? No, it is not there. So D1 is actually greater than S1, right? So let us go for the next rule. What is stating? Let us see. If D1 is equal to S1, that is if D1 is equal to S1, set X11 equal to D1, compute the balance supply and demand, proceed to cell 2, 2. Okay, so even this condition is not satisfying according to what our table is there. So what our table is saying, that S1 is smaller than D1, right? So that is nothing but the third condition. If D1 is greater than S1, that is third condition, set the first column first row cell, that is 1, 1 cell, equal to S1, compute the balance supply and demand and proceed to cell 2, 1. Okay, and you have to continue this step by step procedure away from northwest corner rule until final value is reached in the southeast corner. So you have to start from the northwest and reach the southeast corner. Okay, so let us start. So what is saying is, so I'm going to return the same table here. You can see, so all the values are written. So let us start from that is the top left corner. So 2, 2, northwest corner. So here you can check the demand and here is the supply. So supply is 6 and demand is 7. So which one is smaller? Now 6 is smaller. So allocate all those 6 values to the cell, that is 6. All the 6. So you can see in the bracket I have written 6. So what is remaining now? Now demand also has been acquired as 6. So 7 minus 6 remaining. How much is remaining here? Now only 1 is remaining in this column, right? So only 1 is remaining. Now after finishing this one, next go to next row, that is the so once this is over, you have to go step down to the next row. So once you step down to the next row, then what is the value here? Check its supply and its demand. Now supply is how much? 1 and demand is how much? 1, not 7. 7 is gone now because 7 has been minused from the 6 in the first step. So only 1 is remaining now. So 1 and here also 1. So both are matching, right? So if both are matching, what we should do? We have to go for second condition. What they are saying? D1 is equal to S1, then set equal to D1 and compute the balance supply and demand, proceed to cell 2, 2. So 2, 2 means nothing but you have to go diagonally. If it is not going, means if it is going with the first rule or the third rule, then you have to jump to the next step exactly below. If it is joining the second rule, then we have to go diagonally, that is 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4 like that. Okay, so let us see here. So as soon as this procedure is demanding the it is equal to the second rule, so the supply and demand are equal, so we have to go diagonally now. Okay, so I'm supplying demand 1, I'm allocating the demand 1 here, and you can check that 1 is given to this one. So what is remaining here? 0 is remaining, and what is remaining here? 0 is remaining. So allocated 1, 1 from supply and demand, so nothing is remaining now in the first column and first row. So next I am going to go jump to the next column, that is diagonally. So here I have come. So let us check its supply and demand. So here 10 is there and here 5 is there. So which one is greater now? 10 is greater, and which one is smaller? 5 is smaller. So allocate the smaller value to the cell So allocate all those 5, and if I allocate all those 5, then what is the remaining value in the supply now? So 10 minus 5 will be 5 here, correct? Okay, fine. Next, after this, next what you are going to do? You are going to jump for the next value, that is nothing but the 15, because I cannot go now either at the bottom or the diagonally, so I have to shift to the next value. So now go to the next value. So here 15 is there. So in 15, how much is the supply and how much is the demand? Now supply is 3 and demand is how much? 5, because 10 in 10 already 5 is gone in the previous step, so only 5 is remaining here. So if you minus this 3, because the 3 is the smaller one, I'm going to allocate all those 3 here, so remaining will be 0. So if you allocate 3 from this 5 also, so what will be remaining? 2 will be remaining. So now I'm going to go to the next step, that is 9. So here you check, so here the supply is 2 and even the demand is 2. So if you allocate this 2, so remaining is 0, 0. So I come from the northwest to the southeast corner, so that is top left corner to the bottom right corner. So this is the procedure to solve by using the northwest corner. So what we have found out from this one. So how to find what is the cost now? So what this allocation is stating, that is nothing but I have to go from plant 1 to distribution center 1. I have to go from plant 2 to distribution center 1. Then I have to allocate from the plant 3 to distribution 2, 3 and 4 respectively. Okay, so what will be the cost? So you can check there. So whatever the allocation I have given, so 2, first one 2 into 6 plus 1 into 1 plus 8 into 5 plus 15 into 3 plus 9 into 2. So whatever the supplies are there, the cost which are given in the previous column are hundreds in rupees, right? So in 200 I have done at the outmost column. So total cost is coming how much? 11,600 rupees to supply and to supply from the plant to the distribution center. So total cost is coming 11,600. So they are saying this is the best feasible solution what you can obtain from the northwest corner rule. So it can be seen that the proposed solution is feasible solution since all the supply and demand constraints are fully satisfied, correct? Okay, but this was the one method to find out the cost of the basic feasible solution, but there are many methods as I stated earlier. So what is the second method? We are going to go with the Vogel's approximation method, that is nothing but the penalty method also we call it as. So let us check what will be the cost if I am going to solve by this method. So this, whatever the method is there, it is little bit complicated compared to the northwest corner rule, but we have to understand it very carefully because it is a very important method. Okay, so we are going to see here now in the second step. So I have written here step by step what it is saying. Vogel's approximation method, the first statement it is saying write down the cost matrix and enter the difference between the smallest and second smallest element of each column and row behind the corresponding column and row. Okay, so what it does, it means, now see the same table I have taken from the first step. Okay, that is from the given question, they have given this question, the same thing I have taken here, and what I'm done here is you can check plant 1 2 3 is the distribution center 1 2 3 4 are there. So costs are given. Now what you have to do is first row you take it, you take the two smallest numbers from them and take a difference between them. So two smallest number between the first row are 2 and 3, right? So what is the difference between 3 minus 2 is nothing but 1. So I have taken difference as 1. Similarly you go for each row and each column. So here the smallest number is 1 and 0. So difference is 1. You cannot take 1 and 1 because 0 is also there. If there are two similar numbers, then you can say 1 minus 1 and you can say 0. But now I have two similar smaller numbers 1 and 0 here. Next in this similar third row, I have 5 and 8. That is nothing but difference is 3. In the similar way, go for the column rows. So that is 2 minus 1, 1. 3 minus 0, 3. 11 minus 6, you can say 5. And 7 minus 1, 6. Right? Okay, so I have noted down all the differences here. That is the first step. Next, as soon as you get this one, you have to check which difference is the largest difference among this one. Which one is the largest difference? So I can check that 6 is the largest difference between the first difference what I have got here from the supply and the demand. Right. So in this 6, so this 6 is allocated for which column? That is nothing but the fourth distribution center column. Right. So for the fourth distribution center column, you can check that in this column, which one is the least number, smallest number, you can say smallest number. So which one is the smallest number in this one? 1. Right. So 1 is the smallest number. Now do the same procedure as what you have done for this cell as northwest corner rule. What we have done? Check its supply, check its demand, allocate the supply and demand and do the iteration. right? Same thing. So what this one is there. So check its supply. How much is there? 1. Check its demand. Sorry, demand is 2, right? So which one is greater here? 2 is greater and 1 is smaller. So allocate all that 1 here. So 1 minus 1 will be 2 minus 1 will be how much? 1, and here it will be 0. Now what we must do in the Vogel's approximation method is, since this plant 2 has taken out all its supply, that is nothing is remaining in the supply here, right? So cancel out this entire row, second row, and cancel it entire row. Okay, so I'm not going to use this any values in the next iteration. Getting this one? Okay, so once we do this one, next go for the second iteration. What we have to do, accept this, do once again the differences and calculate which one is the highest, and again do the same method. Now see, sorry, so 2, 3, 11, 7, say the difference will remain same in the second step also. There will be no difference in the second row because entire row has been cancelled out. Next, third row, difference is 3. Now the difference will get changed only in the columns here. Now I can check that earlier the difference was 1 because 2 minus 1 was there, but now the second row has been completely vanished, it has been cancelled. So I'm going to check only the first row and the third row. Take the difference, how much it is? 5 minus 2, that is nothing but 3. You can see 5 minus 2 is nothing but 3. Then 8 minus 3 is nothing but 5. 15 minus 11 is 4. Then 9 minus 7 is nothing but 2. So this is the second iteration what I have done here. So then again, once again check which one is the highest difference. So highest difference is nothing but 5, right? So in this 5, check which one in this column, which one is the least number. So which one is the least number here? It is nothing but 3, right? 3 and 8, because we have only 2 numbers remaining here. Second row has been completely cancelled. So 3. So allocate its supply and demand. So supply is 6, demand is how much? 5. So I'm going to take this 5 entirely and allocate here, and 6 minus 5 will be 1. So I'm going to keep 1 here. So you can see that now the distribution center has been completely satisfied with all that 5 number, right? So it means it has been completely satisfied. It does not require any extra demand, right? Its demand has been satisfied. So I'm going to cancel out that second column. So wherever it becomes 0, remember you have to cancel that row or column. Okay, so I'm going to cancel out this second column completely. Okay, so now second row and second column has been completely cancelled. And the similar way, go for the third iteration. Do the next again, same minusing thing. So now, which are the 2 remaining things now here? 2, 11, 7 are remaining in the third iteration. So the smallest numbers are 7 and 2. So 7 minus 2 is 5. I have taken here. Next, so second row is not there. 5, 15 and 9 are remaining, right? So what is the difference? What is the difference here? 9 minus 5, that is nothing but 4. So in a similar way, go for this iteration where 5 minus 2, that will remain same. Then we don't have the second column because it has been cancelled. Then 15 minus 11 is 4, 9 minus 7, that is 2, right? So in this manner you have to continue and go on until and unless you reach the bottom most corner cell. Okay, so let us see now what will happen now here. In this one you can check that the difference, highest difference is obtained as 5 here, right? So in this 5, what is going to happen? So in this 5, you can check the least number in this one. So that is 2, 11 and 7 are there. So 2 I'm going to allot here. So for 2, what is the supply? You can check. Supply is 1, right? And demand is 6. So which one is the smallest one? 1. So I'm going to allot all that 1 to this cell. So once I allot this one, what is remaining here? 0 is remaining. So if you allot 1 from 7, so how much is remaining? 6 is remaining, right? So allot that one. So which row is going to get cancelled now? The first row is going to get cancelled. So it means I have cancelled the second row, I have cancelled the first row, I have cancelled the second column. So entire things are gone here, right? So what are the remaining values now? I'm left with only the third row values here. Okay, so third row's values, what are going to happen here in this one? You can check that the third row values are left with 5, 15 and 9 because second column has been entirely deleted. So now what you need to do is, anyway, now we cannot take a difference basically, because even if you take the difference, the smallest number will be having the least number, what is smallest number, right? So here you can check the 5 is the smallest number, so allot that number. So for that, check its supply and check its demand. So how much is remaining here? how much is remaining? You can check, the 6 is there and here 10 is there. So which one is smaller? So I'm going to allot all those 6 here and here 10 are there. So from 10 I'm going to remove 6. So how much is remaining? 4 is remaining. So I'm going to allot. So how much is remained here? So 0. Right? So next is 0. Now after this, next what you are going to do? So this is 0 means I am going to cancel the first column entirely. So this is gone now. Next shift to the next last second last element which is remaining now. So in this 15 and 9 are there. So in the 15 and 9, which one is this smallest one? 9 is the smallest. So first you take that number. So 9 you take. So 9 you check its supply and demand. Now supply is how much here? 4 and demand is how much here now? 1. Okay, so 2 has been already allocated before, so only 1 is there. So 1 I am going to allot here, right? So when I am going to allot 1 here, what will happen? So I am going to entirely allot 1, so this becomes 0 and 4 minus 1 will be 3, correct? In the similar way, now go to the, so since you allotted 0 here, so this fourth distribution center has become 0, so cancel this one out completely. Next, what is remaining now? The 15th one. The last cell is remaining. So for 15, check its supply and demand. Now supply is 3, demand is also 3. So supply all those 3 to the cell. So here also 0 is remaining, here also 0 is remaining. So you can cancel either that completely the column or you can cancel out the row that is left to you. But always they suggest that cancel out the demand itself. Okay, so I'm going to cancel the demand. So entire row and entire column has been cancelled out. You can check that one. So it suggests that this is, if you go by this method, this will be the best method to give you the basic feasible solution. So let us check its allocations now. So what are this allocation and check its value? So I can say 2 into 1, 3 into 5, 5 into 6, 15 into 3 and 9 into 1. So if I have done that calculation, you can check that one. 2 into 1, 3 into 5, 1 into 1, 5 into 6, 15 into 3 and 9 into 1 and into 100 because that numbers are in into multiplication of 100. So the cost will be 10,200 rupees. So can you check that the difference between the Vogel's approximation method and what we have found by using the northwest corner method? Can you see the difference? How much difference I am getting for finding the same answer, same basic feasible solution? So by northwest I am getting 11,600 and by using the Vogel's approximation I am getting 10,200 for the same problem. So which one is the best method? Of course the Vogel's approximation will be the best method because the difference what after obtaining the Vogel's approximation I am getting is nearly equal to 1,400 rupees difference I am getting. So of course here you are trying to save your money, so Vogel's approximation will always yield you the best solution. Now after doing this one, what is the what you have obtained? Now you have obtained a feasible solution that I need to go by this method, that is allocate 1 into 1, 1 to 1, 1 to 2 and 3 to 1, right, 3 to 3 and 3 to 4. So you have to allocate the supplies like this. But whether this method is perfect, that is the best solution what we obtain, it may be or it may not be. Now for example, if I say that if a student want to go to his college, right, so he has got many roads to follow, right? Suppose if he has got 5 roads to go from his home to his college, so which one is the best one, right? So he will find that among the 5 roads, the 2 roads are the shortcuts one and those are the best one. But in those two methods, in those 2 roads, which one is the best one which is going to save his fuel or save his energy in basic? So that we have to find out. So we have obtained a basic feasible solution here, but whether it is correct or it is exactly the best solution or no, that we have to test it. Okay, so whether after testing only I'm going to get to know whether the solution obtained is good or no. So that's why I'm going to write here whatever solution I've got here. So this solution I'm going to note it as first feasible solution. Okay, so let us test its equation. How does it will come? Let us check that one. Okay, so let us see that. So go for the performing the optimality test. So in performing the optimality test, remember one thing. So there are 2 conditions which you have to remember very importantly. So first thing is nothing but check optimality test can be performed only on those feasible solution in which number of allocations is m plus n minus 1. So that is non-degenerate, which I have explained in the previous section. So let us check whether it is m plus n minus 1 or no. Okay, so allocations are made for 2, 3, 1, 5, 15 and 9. So total allocations are how much? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for 6 allocations I have made. Let us check its m plus n, that is number of rows and number of columns. How many are there? 3 rows and 4 columns. So total there are m plus n are nothing but 7. So 7 minus 1 is 6. So 6 is equal to the number of allocations. So is it correct? Then we have to go for the next method. So the first condition is satisfying. That is what the feasible solution what we obtained is a non-degenerate. Correct. So it is saying your number of allocations is m plus n minus 1. Exactly correct, because 7 minus 1 6. So it is getting it exactly equal. Now what is the second condition? These m plus n minus 1 allocations should be independent positions. What in by independent positions? Now if I check its solutions, what I have got here, if I check the solutions of the problem, here you can check 2, 3, where allocations have done 15, 9 and 6. Are they forming a closed loop? Now if I start from 1, I'm going to go for 9, I'm going to go for 15, but I cannot form a closed loop here, right? Because 6 is not allocated, so it is getting right. So you can say that I can go for 5 here, then you can go for 2, you can go for 3, but again you cannot come for the 1 where it is getting the closed loop. So in any manner, if you can find if there is a closed loop, then you cannot solve you cannot go for the optimality test. You have to conduct some other test for that one. Okay, so since you can see that in this one it is not a closed loop, so it is called as independent position. So all are there in the independent position, it is not forming a closed loop. Okay, so in this, again, performing the optimality test, there are various methods to do, but the one method that is called as modified distribution method or MODI method, it is a very effective one and very easiest one to solve it. So what we have to do is, the first thing is set up the cost matrix of the allocation cells. Okay, so now you can see I have allocated here, the allocations are given for 2, 3, 1, 15, 9 and 5. So only those cells you allocate here. Okay, and give the naming for each row and each column as u1, u2, u3, v1, v2, v3 and v4. Okay, now what we have to do here, from taking this as an stage, what this 2 is representing, it is the cost of that cell, right? Now you can see that. So from going from u1 to v1, the total cost is coming as how much? 2. So that I have stated u1 plus v1 is equal to 2. Let us take second one. u1 plus v2 is equal to 3. Correct? Same. u2 plus v4 is equal to 1. Similarly, u3 plus v1 is equal to 5. u3 plus v3 is equal to 15 and u3 plus v4 is equal to 9. So please remember, this is a very important step. We have to follow the same procedure for all the problems. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to find all the values of u1, u2, u3, v1, v2, v3, v4. Okay, how we are going to find that one? So what we have to do, let us assume one arbitrary value for v1 is equal to 0. We have to assume v1 is equal to 0, that is it is coming 0. Okay, so if I put v1 is equal to 0 in this equation, how much will be u1? u1 will be equal to 2, right? So if u1 is equal to 2, then how much v2 is equal to 3 minus 2, that is nothing but 1. So I got u1 value, I got v2 value. In the similar way, substitute all the values whatever we have got in the other things, other equations, and find out the remaining values also. Now once you obtain all the values, that is u1, u2, v3, all the values, substitute these values in front of those values, u1, u2, v3, whatever you have written in the first step, substitute those values. So you can check that 2 minus 3, 5, and v1 are taken by default 0, so that is there 1, 10 and 4, right? Now this is the first step what we have to follow in the MODI step. Now the second step. What is the second step here? As soon as you check here, you can say that whatever the vacant cells are there now. What are the vacant cells here now? The vacant cells are nothing but unallocated cells. In basically what we have found the basic feasible solution from here, the unallocated cells. So unallocated cells are 11, 7, 6, 0, 1. These are unallocated cells. So in those cells, you have to write the values what we are getting from this addition. It is nothing but 2 plus 10, 12. 2 plus 4, 6. Minus 3 plus 0, minus 3. Minus 3 plus 1, minus 2. Minus 3 plus 10, that is plus 7. Those things you have to write here, and we are going to get a new table like this. Okay, so once you get this new table, what you are going to do is, you are going to take the difference of these two values. That is nothing but the cost value. Can you see this one? This is the nothing but the actual given value in the problem, right? This is the cost of going from plant 1 to distribution center 3. So what you have to do, 11 minus 12 you have to do. Okay, 11 minus 12. Take out the difference between the two cells here, 11 minus 12. Always remember, you have to take the difference from the actual distribution center, the actual table, towards the new obtained values. So 11 minus 12, 7 minus 6. Okay, then 1 minus of minus 3, 0 minus of minus 2, 6 minus 7, like that. Okay, so once you obtain this new values, you are going to get the table like this: 11 minus 12, 7 minus 6, 1 plus 3, 0 minus of minus, that is b plus 6 minus and 8 minus 6. So you are going to get the new values here. Okay, so this will be the last table for your problem. Now what you have to check in this table is whether the solutions what I'm getting here are positive, all values are positive, or is there anything negative here. Remember one thing, if there is any one term negative, then it suggests that you can obtain a better feasible solution than what is already obtained. Okay, and if all the values are coming positive, then it is the best solution what you have obtained. You can check, I have written some rules here. What is saying, signs of the values in the cell evaluation matrix indicates whether the optimal solution has been obtained or not. A negative value in an unoccupied cell indicates that a better solution can be obtained by allocating units to this cell. Now, a positive value indicates that it is the best solution obtained. There is nothing else apart from that. You cannot obtain a best solution apart from if all the values are coming positive. The third thing, if a zero value indicates 0 is coming, if anything is coming there, then it indicates that another solution of the same total value can be obtained. So you can neglect the third step because it is not going to alter my solution or the values or the cost what I'm going to get. But if the positive and negative are coming, then those are going to alter. So positive value is coming in all the cells, then it is nothing but the best solution what you obtain. And if any one cell is coming negative, then what you must do, you have to see that this problem is not the best feasible solution what you obtain. Then you have to iterate to the best feasible solution. Okay, so it means your problem will be not over here if anything comes here negative. If all the values are coming positive, then your problem ends here. Okay, so next what we must do if it is coming negative. Now the problem is in this last stage we have got two negative values, and both the negative values are same value, that is minus 1 and minus 1. Now what we must do here is we have to go for the next thing, that is iterate towards the optimal solution. Now what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to write a table with the same allocations what I got in the previous Vogel's approximation method. You can check here, Vogel's approximation allocations only. I'm not writing the cost matrix, I'm writing the allocation matrix. So 1, 5, 6, 3, 1 I allocated. So same thing I'm going to allocate here. Okay, now the two negative values are coming in first row, third column, and second row, third column. Now in this two, you have to identify one distribution center, which is a very important one, and that is called as identified cell. Okay, you have to check for identified cell. Now how we are going to identify which one is best one? Now in this one, if the two values are of different values, say here minus 1 is there and here minus 2 is there. So which one is the best one? So whichever one is closest to 0, that will yield the best solution. So of course I wish to select minus 1 in previous condition if minus 1 and 0, here minus 2 was there. But in this condition both are same. Now which one you are going to select? Now you have to select its row. Okay, you have to select its row and check which row has got, in this two, which row has got maximum allocations. So if you check, the first row has got 2 allocations and second row has got none of the allocations, that is one allocation we have got here. So which one is the whichever row has got maximum allocation, that will yield the best result. So I'm going to select that value, okay, that cell as the identified cell. So since I selected that as an identified cell, so I have marked that by any one sign. You can put a star mark, you can put a cross mark. So I put a tick mark here for that one. Now what you are going to do, follow this from here. Okay, go for the next allocated cell. So if I'm saying that in the next cell it is unoccupied cell, so don't worry about that. You can skip that one and you can go for the next allocated cell. So make a dotted box like this. So this there is no rule that it should be completely square box or rectangle box only. It can be anywhere, step by step box also. Suppose here 6 was coming here, so I used to come 3, then I used to take the step here and then close this one, but it should be a closed format. Okay, so minus 3 is there, 6 is here, 1 is there, 5, and I have made a closed box here, closed loop you can say. Now what is this next step you have to do? Allocate the identified cell as positive value. Identified cell as a positive value, and the remaining all the corners. Okay, if anything is coming in between, don't allocate any sign for that one. Remaining all the corners, wherever the corners are there, allocate them the alternate values, plus minus and plus minus. So here plus is there, I'm going to allot here minus, then plus, then minus. Okay, you can come in this stage also, plus minus anyway, right? Now what is the use of this plus and minus? Now in this corner, whatever the corner values are there of the allocated cells, which one is the least one? So least one is nothing but the one here. So allocate that one to these cells, okay, with the plus sign or minus sign. Okay, so here plus sign is there, so here nothing is there. So for example, here nothing is there, it is not an allocated cell. So here I'm going to write plus 1. Here it is already 3. So 3 minus 1 will be how much? 2. Here 6 plus 1 will be 7. And here 1 minus 1 will be 0. So that will come at 0. So the new table what you are going to obtain will be looking like this. You can check. So you can check here. Plus 1, 3 minus 1, 6 plus 1, 1 minus 1. So the new table will look like 5, 1, 1, 2, 1, 7. Right? So the new allocations we obtain. So remember, these are not the cost values. These are nothing. These are just the what we say, allocated values. Okay, so if you check from the this one, Vogel's approximation method. Okay, so I have allocated some values here, 1, 5, 1. So these are nothing but the new allocated values. Okay, so with respect to this, now multiply and find out the cost of the new table. Now 3 into 5, 11 into 1, 1 into 1, 5 into 7, 15 into 2, 9 into 1. Okay, multiply with 100 and check what will be the values of that one. So you can check 3 into 5, 11 into 1, 1 into 1, 7 into 5, 2 into 5 into 1. So 10,100. So earlier the first feasible solution what was obtained here. Okay, so how much was the cost I got here? 10,200. And how much I am getting here now? 10,100. So of course this is the best solution compared to the previous one, but we don't know. We have to check whether it is the best one or no still, right? So this I am noted as second basic feasible solution. Now go for same thing, that is check for optimality by Modi method. Same as step 3. Repeat the procedure which I have shown earlier. So what we have to do? Take the table now, right? Take the table now. This is the allocated cell cost matrix what I have with respect to the allocated cell. So write on the U1 V1 all the values here, right? So check U1 plus, now here the allocated is how much? U1 plus V2 is equal to 3 is there. U1 plus V3 is equal to 11. Similarly continue for all. Okay, put the V1 is equal to 0, find out the new values of the variables. So these variables you are going to allot here, whatever the values you have got, and then what you must do, wherever the unallocated cells are there, okay, unallocated cells, that is nothing but this one and this are unallocated cell, add them and see the values. So see here, made them here 2 and all, and here what you must do, after allocating this unallocated cells, what you must do, you have to minus this one from the actual table. So that is nothing but actual table will be from the given problem. So you can check here. So this is nothing but the, your 2 is there. So what I'm going to get in the previous allocation here, 1. So 2 minus 1, 7 minus 5, 1 plus 3, 0 plus 1, 6 minus 7, 8 minus 7, right? So once you minus these values, you are going to get the same thing once again here, the new values you are going to get. Now check once again in this one whether you are getting the negative value or positive value. So of course I'm going to get one negative value once again here. So this is not the best solution once again what we obtain. So continue this procedure once again as what you have done up to now, and once again find out the visible solution. So this you have to continue until unless you get the all the values in the last table positive. Okay, so once again I'm going to start with the this one allocation. So what we must do, as I stated, you have to take the negative value and mark that as a identified cell. So you can see this is my identified cell because only one value is there. So that table I have marked as tick mark here, right? Now once I made a tick mark, so I made allocations here 5, 1, 7, 2 in the previous table that you have taken from here. You can check here what are the allocations you have got here, 5, 1, 7, 2, 1 and all. These allocations I am going to take and I'm going to get plus sign for the identified cell, and you can go for the next corner. You can see then this is becoming a closed loop here, right? So plus minus or plus minus, and which one is the lowest among this one? 1. So add them and minus them. So now here see plus 1, 1 minus 1, 2 minus 1, 1 plus 1. So I'm going to get the new table here, 5 1 1 1 7 1 2, right? So this is the new table what I got. So it's a feasible solution. So let us check its cost. How much is coming? You can, when you multiply this, you can getting how much? 10,000 rupees. So earlier for second feasible solution I was getting how much? 10,100 rupees, and now I'm getting how much? 10,000 rupees. So which one is the best solution? Of course now this is the best feasible solution. So I noted this as a third feasible solution. Now go for the test for optimality. So it's the same procedure. What, write the u1, u2, u3, all the values, write down the allocated values here. So once you get the allocated values, check for it, u1 plus v2, u1 plus v3, check this one and allocate v1 is equal to 0 and find out the new values of u1, u2, u3 and all, allocate those to the tables. And now wherever the unfilled cells are there, add them, 1 plus 2 3, the same way here. So you can say one, sorry, these are the what unfilled cells. 1 plus 0 is 1, then here 1 plus 4 is nothing but 5, and make this one matrix. And once you get this matrix, what you must do, you have to minus the values of the matrix from the original cost matrix. So original cost matrix is already given in the question, you can check here. So 2 3 11 and all, so minus those values here. Okay, so this minus these values you have to minus from the given table. So this new table what you have got here. So I minus the values here and I have shown it to you. So 2 minus 1, 7 minus 5, 1 plus 4, 0 plus 2, 1 minus 0, 8 minus 7. So I'm getting a new table here. So once I get the new table here, can you check this table that each and every values what I've got here are positive. There is nothing one value which is negative. Hence this is the best solution what I'm going to get. So all values are positive. So that is nothing but what the this one my method was saying, right? So here what is saying, so if a positive value indicates that it is the best solution obtained, right? So whatever the solution I obtained here is the best solution. Getting? So this is nothing but the transportation problem using the Vogel's approximation method and the Modi method. Thank you for the class.